video is going to show you how to handle a returned payment in QuickBooks. So if you use QuickBooks Payments, you've probably run into this where a client pays an invoice and then a couple of days later, you'll receive an email from QuickBooks saying that there was a returned item. That email will tell you the amount of the returned item, and it will give you a partial on the bank account number used. The one helpful thing this email will not tell you is specifically who the customer was that had the returned item. So if you get lots of payments, you may need to do some extra research to find out exactly whose payment was returned. QuickBooks currently charges $10 for a returned item. I pass that fee along to the customer whose payment was returned. The most common reason that I get returned item notifications for is when my client accidentally enters in the incorrect routing or account number. The email from QuickBooks will give you the reason for the returned item. The process to handle the returned payment in QuickBooks takes multiple steps, and these steps have to be completed in this order so that you can resend the invoice. In QuickBooks, the first step is to add a new check for the amount of the returned payment. So you'll go up here to New and click on Check. Next, we're going to add the payee. This payee has to be the exact person in your system who made the wrong or had the returned payment. Then you want to make sure that you have the right bank account selected where the payment was originally made. The payment date can be today, or you can use the date that you received the email from Intuit. The check number, I type in NSF here every time. NSF stands for non-sufficient funds. That may not be what happened here, but I use NSF just because then it's easy for me to search back and find out if there's any patterns, if somebody is consistently typing in the wrong information, or if somebody is consistently bouncing their checks to me. I always use NSF here. Next thing is going to be our category. We're going to choose Accounts Receivable. Every time, Accounts Receivable. And then the description here, I like to type something. I like to use as many details as I can because I forget. Okay, for the amount, we want to make sure that we use the exact amount that was originally returned. In this case, it's $300. You don't have to type in anything here unless these are fields that you normally use. Next, we'll go down here. If you want to, you could print a PDF, the email that you received from QuickBooks, and attach it here so that you can further substantiate this transaction. When you're done with all these items, you will want to save and close. Next, we are going to go into that customer and reapply the original payment received from Intuit to that NSF check we just created. That's going to open the invoice so that you can resend it. So you'll go to customers, and yes, there's a million ways to get to the same information. So you'll go to customers, however you get to customers, just do that. And find the customer who had the returned item. And you can see here is that check that we just created, $300. It matches the payment that was returned. A lot of people think that this is like the last step, that's all we have to do, but we don't want to do that because you can see here that this invoice is still showing as partially paid. The $300 is still applied to this invoice. So the customer would never know that the $300 was not received because all they can see on their end is a invoice that has $450 due on it. So what we're going to do is click on this payment. We're going to edit the payment. And instead of having the payment be applied to this invoice, we're going to apply it to this NSF check. So you can see that we're not changing anything about this payment that was originally received, except for we're reapplying it to this NSF check. Now we'll save and close. And you can see that this invoice has now reopened. There's $750 due to this check, $750 overdue. This payment and this check are now applied to each other. Next step, and this step is optional, I will go into this original invoice and I'm going to add a fee. In this case, I have to create a new fee. This is the first time that I've ever had this. I'm going to call it just a fee and fee here. And this income account is going to be going to, let's see if there's anything here, fees billed. I'm going to leave this blank. This, if I entered something here, that would be the default, but because fees kind of vary, I'm just going to leave it blank. There is no tax on fees, so I'll make sure that this is non-taxable. Save and close. All right, so now I've got this fee added here, and I'm going to add my own details here so that the client knows. And there's $10 there, and now I'm going to actually save and send this to this guy so that he gets the new invoice. All right, so that's been sent. At this point, I also will forward the email that I got from QuickBooks so that the customer can see what happened. I'll include a little note that says, "Hey John, FYI, your check was returned. It looks like you entered the incorrect account number. Please resubmit the payment." Also, you can see that QuickBooks charged me $10 for this error. I'm passing that $10 on to you. Usually the customer will understand that it was their error. They're the ones who did not enter the information correctly, so they are liable to make that payment for the fee. And that's how you do a returned item transaction in QuickBooks. Thanks for watching.